chief guest, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, my co-speaker, Mrs. Tara Rao, our secretary of the Forum for Democracy and Communal Unity, Mr. Feroz Pasha Saab, and very distinguished members of the civil society. Good morning to you all. Assalamu alaikum. After a stalwart like Prashant Bhushanji has spoken, it's really awkward to be put on the pedestal. I won't take too much time and speak a few words on this important topic of the mandate of 2024 and what its interpretation is, what it means, and what the way forward for civil society is in the coming days. I mean, the first thing that came out once the election results came is the Aam Aadmi, the Janata is very smart in this country. Forget it. I mean, it's not the YouTubers, it's not the what the whole hullabaloo is all about, but it is the democratic voice of the common man, which is amazing. So there is a lot of faith in the common man in this country, and there is great hope for this. There was lots of disillusionment that's gotten a little more hopeful for a lot of people. This battle was really a battle of ideas. The very original of idea of India, a democratic India versus a very authoritarian, autocratic, single leader India. I mean, this is the question that the mandate answered. A question whether you want Godse's India or you want Gandhiji's India. Which one would you want to choose? It was a question of whether our valued constitutional ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity, is this what we choose? Or do we choose hatred, violence, falsehood, lies? I mean, this is the whole different ideas that were clashing. Nafrat ki ideology, ahimsa ki ideology, himsa ki ideology, jhoot ki ideology. What are we choosing? I mean, the common man was given this question. The battle between a bulldozer India or a rule of law India, which one would you like? And actually even a simple battle of rationality. I mean, are you going to be rational souls or are you going to be totally irrational people? I mean, what kind of India do we look forward to? A scientific, rational, logical India or a India of make-believe, an India of fake? A secular India where diversity of different beliefs, religions, faiths, castes, and languages, and this diversity exists beautifully in harmony? Or do we look at one language, one dress, one culture? That's the kind of India that was questioned. Are we going to be divided by religions? Or are we going to be united by humanity? I mean, that's the choice for India that we are looking forward to in the country. I mean, you can ask more questions. Do you want people like Rahul or Mahua Moitra or our own Imran Pratapgadi and his wonderful talk in Parliament? Or would you want the other side? And I don't want to name the other side. This is a divided India, like Smita Prakash says. Are you on this side or that side? I mean, you don't even want to name that other side, that rational side, that side of equality, that side of liberty, and that side of constitutional values and democracy and independent democratic institutions like we were talking about. Yet, I mean, verses and verses, Dhruv Rathi and Zubair versus Smita Prakash beer biceps, however you want to say that. I mean, that's the India that we are looking at, I mean, to put it nicely. And we are looking at an India which is represented by Ravish versus an India which is represented by Arnab. An India which is debating and having an open society and discussing things in a beautiful environment, which is criticizing the judgments and questioning the judgments, versus an India which keeps quiet, shut up, nobody to question, nobody to ask. They're being bulldozed, they're being lynched. Anybody who asks and questions is again punished and doubly punished. Which kind of India would you like? Friends, India has answered. We have the answer. It may not really be truly reflected in terms of numbers, but it is reflected, like Yogendra Yadav says. It's a moral victory, absolutely no question about it. And everything subsequently really speaks for it. The morale, even the facial demeanor of people is telling you, this is what has happened. अब वो 400 पार की बात छोड़कर बेचारे प्रधानमंत्री जी की सूरत और राहुल साहब का intensity, I mean, it's speaking a lot. The depression on that side and the courage on the opposition side. However, it is too premature to conclude that this divisive, communal, hateful, violent agenda has been defeated. Absolutely not. I mean, it could be a beginning. It's a good beginning. It's an inspiring beginning. It's a motivating beginning, but it's not at all anywhere close to dividing and defeating this agenda. I mean, I wouldn't be mistaken in calling it the RSS type of idea of India. I mean, it's that ideology which is divisive, casteist, communal. And let's know that and call it as it is, like Rahul calls it that way. The biggest question to civil society today, as we sit here and discuss and ponder and introspect and look back and look forward, is the question of the way forward. One of the alarms, although UP has replied in a very healthy way, as so to say, but what about the South? What about the breaking of the fortress of Kerala? What about Tamil Nadu? What about Orissa? What about Telangana? You should know that it hasn't happened the way it should have happened. And therefore, the danger lurks. And civil society has to be very wary about these kind of things and be very careful about it. And therefore, how do we do? What do we do? Prashant Saab has really put in some very, very clear points. And here are some of this. We need to speak and revive this idea of India, this ideology. What we stand for is not very clear. We stand for an open India where there is liberty of speech, where you can talk, where you can criticize, where you can discuss, where you can debate, where you have an Oxford Union-like debate. Prashantji was there. Where do we see that? We only see fighting matches on Arnab's Republic TV. How shameful that is. There was an Al Jazeera debate where the anchor had to stop. Hey, this is not Republic TV or this is not Indian TV. I mean, you've got to be more, well behaved on this TV. I mean, let him answer. You give a chance to him. You get your answer. I mean, that kind of decency. We like an open India. We like an equal India. There is an alarming inequality in this country between the haves and the have-nots. What India do we foresee? What is it that you and I are fighting towards? We're not going to have our communal jhandas here. I'm not going to be sitting like a Muslim and he's sitting like a Hindu and somebody's like sitting like a Christian. We are looking at an open society, a society that is equal, a society that is fraternal. Fraternity is such an important part of a democratic, secular agenda that we are all brothers, we're all friends. We all work towards peace and harmony and development and progress. We want to look at equality. We want to look at flourishing ideas, new ideas coming up. And how is that going to come up? And this kind of a fraternal India, a rule-based India. We should be alarmed by the lynching. We should be alarmed by the bulldozing. I mean, but we are looking at, is this the India that we all look for? The agenda that we talk should be changed. I don't care what temple and mandir se nikal kar. Let us talk of a different agenda, a rational India, a just and fair India, a constitutional India, and most importantly, a welfare India, a welfare state. The poor have been forgotten in this whole debate. मंदिर मस्जिद के डिबेट में पुअर लोगों का क्या बात है, सिख लोगों का क्या बात है? What is the healthcare spending that this country is doing? Oh, that's forgotten. Don't even ask that. What about those cancer patients? What about those kidney failure patients? What about those malaria patients? What about those tuberculosis patients? No, we don't talk about it. National policy debates on all these issues should be part of the agenda. One of the things that happened in this election was the agenda was not about national policy and on serious issues that affect the farmers, that affect the poor, that affect the common man, that affect education. My God, the national education policy. That's not the agenda, some silly agenda. What's that? Mangal Sutra, mutton, all the M's. I mean, how can that be an agenda for such a large, beautiful country like ours? Let us get serious and let us think of this. So we need to revive this kind of India, the idea, by talking about it, by writing about it, by discussing about it, and that idea needs to be. Essentially, this is a battle of ideas, and this idea should win. And we need to propound and propagate this idea aggressively. Number two, we need to unite. Of course, there was the Maharashtra Democratic Front, there was a UP Democratic Front, here we had the Dolu Karnataka. There have been various forums, and these need to be promoted with a very simple common minimum agenda. We need to create that and rise above petty thinking and understand the power of unity and the power of doing things together. We need to build these bridges where they are, the proverbial Mohabbat ka dukaan in the what kind? Kaisi bazaar? Nafrat ki bazaar mein mohabbat ki dukaan kholna. Wonderful. I mean that idea should actually be practiced and put together. Very importantly, if we don't understand the ways of evil, the ways of falsehood, the ways of hatred, the ways of blackmail, if we don't understand that and counter that much ahead, the ways of Pegasus, the ways of Bhima Koregaon mein, I mean, they kind of infected their laptops. And Sergi did not mention about, about dossiers on chief justices and justices is fine. But if they don't find something, then they can create one and implant a woman where they want. I mean, so many things can happen. And suddenly pigs can come in masjids and dead cows can come into mandirs. This is an agenda that has come far away. रामेश्वरम कफे में भी हो सकता है, कोई टेम्पल में भी हो सकता है. नाम देखकर आइडेंटिफाई कर लेना कि मुसलमानों ने किया. समझौता एक्सप्रेस हो या मक्का मस्जिद हो या नांदेड़ में हो या और कहीं हो या जयपुर में हो. I mean, these are the ways that they are planting things. And they're creating this hatred and dividing society. We need to understand this agenda that they have, how to divide people, how to create hatred, and we need to understand these threats and overcome them. There are issues other than politics. I mean, civil society cannot just talk about elections and talk about politics. Like I said, poverty. Like I said, corruption. I mean, regardless of what government is there, we need to stand on those issues, that we need to fight against corruption, and nobody like Prashant to fight against corruption in this country, regardless of the government. I mean, we are not pro-Congress or pro-Aam Aadmi Party or pro-this or pro-that. We are pro-equality. We are pro-liberty. We are pro-fraternity. We are pro-harmony. We are pro-peace. We are pro the rule of law and anti-corruption, and that's what civil society should be, rather than getting into these boxes of what the party says. And the most beautiful thing that Prashant Sahib said, and I would like to reiterate that, and that has a take-home message, that that truth army versus the troll army. I mean, nothing like it. And that truth army should stand for apolitical activism and create that Sadbhavna munch that we are trying to do, sir, in Karnataka. In various districts and various places, एक Sadbhavna munch हम बना रहे हैं, जहाँ different communities के different वो बैठकर कम से कम बात करने का सलीका तो सीखें, in spite of all our differences, and how to overcome these kind of things. And aren't we enthused? Yes, we are. I mean, we are not what we were a few months ago. Thank God for that. Appreciate that. And really appreciate the common man's resilience and the resilience of democracy. I should say, Jai Hind. Thank you very much. God bless.